All right, so adding a little bit more into the SLE, LIE conversation here. This again is so much to say about these two. It's hard to squeeze it all in. So, um, again, these two look a lot alike, and I think they benefit each other in a lot of different ways. The SLEs are they have a much more present. They're much better at being in the moment. They're much better at not hesitating to get after things. Of course, that can get to the point of being impulsive in their actions. Um, but the advantage is that they are not hesitating. So in situations where hesitation is going to lead to failure, the SLE can really thrive. That's why people talk about them being better in like emergency situations or combat situations or things that are high speed like that, high pressure. Um, so that anyway, that helps. It might doesn't even have to be those kind of pressure. Sometimes you could think of something like if you're talking dating world, right? Pickup kind of stuff. There's the concept of the 3 second rule or 5 second rule. The moment you make eye contact with a girl across the way, you got about 3 to 5 seconds to walk over there and say something. Right after that, you're gonna start doubting, you're gonna start hesitating, you're gonna start getting into your own head and stuff. Right. This is something you hear about in pickup artist stuff. Um, and there's definitely truth to that. An SLE is less likely to mess that up because they're not going to hesitate so much. They're going to go after it a lot more. Other types will hesitate. Um, so an LIE is much more likely to hesitate, especially early in life. NI can sometimes act as a bit of a break, as a pause button, something that gets you to stop what you're doing, slow down, think about it, think about the consequences. Where is this going? What could happen? What are you trying to achieve out of this in the long run? If that helps the LIE avoid impulsive decisions, doing some dumb shit in the moment, and thinking it through, this helps the LIE look a little bit more cautious and more intelligent about what they're doing. But it could also mean that they're hesitating, they're overthinking it when some situations don't call for that. It's just get after it, just do it. Um, so those can be problems. Again, you see that a lot more when they're younger. Um, so they both can benefit from each other because of the fact that the SLE can use a little more NI at times, can use a little more understanding of where things are going, what's the long-term benefit of this, what are the possible consequences, and is it really worth it? Um, is it really going to achieve longer lasting goals? Maybe every once in a while they just need someone to hit the brakes and go, hey, maybe you ought to like not do that for whatever reason, slow down a second. The LIEs, on the other hand, need to learn from the SLEs to kind of like stop hesitating, stop thinking about it so much. You know enough, you've gathered enough information, just go already, just fucking do it, get after it. Um, so they can very much benefit each other. And that's kind of how I choose to look at the benefit rings and the benefit cycle. I don't see it so much as the LIE is really the benefactor to the SLE. I mean, in a way, yeah, we can because we're bringing the NI, but I really see it as being able to go both ways. You can benefit each other. It just sort of depends more on the situation and the circumstances. Um, a lot on the situation, circumstances, a lot on who's in charge of whom, if there is that kind of relationship, or are you just two people at a distance kind of observing each other? Um, so that can make a lot of difference. Again, that's why to me personally, as an LIE, I like looking at SLEs and admiring certain qualities that they have, and I try to be more SLE-ish. I like to learn aspects of them. As I mentioned, the lack of hesitation, the decisiveness, being more forceful and present, developing even the FE stuff a little bit, as much as it sort of can often annoy the hell out of me. But picking up little bits of FE stuff that I want to use and I want to be better at so that I can be more impactful with people and I could kind of achieve better outcomes, socially speaking, especially in the way that SLEs do. And these are two types that are similar enough to each other to really be able to kind of work well, to understand each other, to appreciate what the other has. Hence, they're in the benefit ring cycle. Um, they both are much more assertive, aggressive, dominant types of people, people who want to get things done, very results driven people, make good leaders in a lot of cases, uh, and ambitious people too, usually. So there's a lot of good things going on there that kind of make them very similar enough to appreciate each other enough when they encounter each other. So yeah, it's a lot of the stuff there. So I think that that's really how it works. By all means, check out the benefit cycle rings. You can find that on a lot of the different Socionics pages out there, the Sociotype, World Socionic Society blog. I'm sure you'll find it on Galinko's pages. I'm sure you'll find wiki everywhere, right? And you'll notice that LIE and SLE are right next to each other in the benefit cycle. In fact, the two of them appear in a lot of things with each other. So more stuff to consider and think about. Bottom line, one is much more practical, much more charming, usually much more engaging with people, but has a harder time with its intimate relationships and maybe has a harder time with long-term planning things, deeper meaning stuff. Whereas LIE is the other type that can be just more NT-ish, more nerdy, more book smart, very knowledgeable on a wide array of stuff that maybe doesn't even seem to have much practical use to it. More thoughtful in what they're trying to do and go after, but not quite as charming. You know, does care about its intimate relationships a lot, in fact, very much so. They just don't share it. You have to kind of get closer to them for them, you know, to really notice it. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much. So anyway, um LAs are more flexible too they're not as rigid about stuff. SLEs can be more rigid on once they have certain ideas on what's cool, what's not, who's good, who's bad, what things are stupid or not stupid. SLEs can be a bit more stubborn on that kind of thinking. LIEs actually are not as stubborn. They're much more flexible at the possibilities of different stuff. Uh, Believe it or not. So anyway, that's just some more additional comments. Again, let me know what you think.